Men of Reddit who proposed and she said no. What happened afterwards with your life? I asked her right out of high school, but she wasn't ready. We stayed together, went to college at the same school, spent the first year in separate dorms, then moved in together, got married a few years later. Our 20th is coming up. What a wholesome story. U/literal fizzes. Actual poo. Real shit. I was the person who said no. We had only known each other for 3 months and he was smitten. I was more cautious. I said no. I like you but it's way too soon. He asked when would be enough time. I said maybe a year. He proposed again at midnight, 1 year after we first met. I said yes and we have been together 8 years now. Edit. I know a year was still not a long time, but we had a long engagement and didn't get married for another 2.5 years. I was expecting this to go down in flames but ended up making me smile. Thanks a lot. Adorable story. A year is still way too soon on my eyes. I'm glad it worked out for you. But I've been in 2 4+ year relationships which have ended horribly. A year in, I was totally smitten. It was only after the honeymoon phase wore off I realized what giantess they were. My dad proposed to a woman who said no. My dad was a violent alcoholic and she said she couldn't be with him unless he got clean. Took him a little while, but he did it. He wound up meeting my mom through a matchmaker and they've been married 25 years. If that woman never said no to him, he never would have gotten clean. It was the lowest points in his life, but it all brought him to my mom who makes him happier than ever. My dad talks to her sometimes. She got married to someone else and they had a son who died from a medical condition. Well, that story went well until the last 6 words. And now we are all counting the last 6 words. My husband asked 3 times in the span of a couple months. We had dated for 3 years. He was ready. I wanted to graduate college first. Also, don't propose by handing your sew a ring while you're both in the car on the way to Burger King. I'm low maintenance, but put some thought into it. My ex-husband didn't get the chance to propose. He had been keeping the ring hidden at his mom and dad's house. We were on our way out to dinner at a nice restaurant and we stopped at their house on the way there. I thought we were just there to say hi. We sat down for a few minutes and he excused himself to go to the bathroom. His mom followed him out of the room and returned a few moments later with him at her heels. Tossed the ring box into my lap and said, "I guess this is yours." I was fucking shocked. We had just found out I was pregnant and he had been planning to propose at Christmas but decided to do it early. His mother didn't like me, and she's definitely at least one of the things we divorced over. Put some thought. My soon-to-be ex-husband never really asked. He was like, well, that can be arranged, and that was it. We got married a few weeks later. Hindsight 20/20. My dad did something similar. My mom was planning some wedding stuff while they were sitting at a Pizza Hut and stopped and said, "Wait, you never asked to marry me." So he just sighed out, "Oh, will you marry me?" and they divorced when I was 16. I spoke to her about it beforehand, and she seemed really keen on the idea. So I decided to propose about a week after in front of all our friends. She was so shocked she picked me up off my knee and shooed me away. Most of our friends were confused because everyone knew it was going to happen, and she said she was excited for it. I didn't know what to do. It was all really embarrassing, and later she explained she didn't mean no, she just didn't know what to say and was scared. She said yes after apologizing profusely, and just this year we celebrated our 9th anniversary. Edit. I'm happy that this comment blew up, but I feel like the next time I tell someone it as an icebreaker they're going to say I read this on Reddit. My dad maintains to this day that my mom never said yes till she said I do. She laughs when she's nervous and never actually said yes, but put the ring on while laughing. He took it as a yes. They will be married 39 years come August. Together 44. My mom never said yes at the altar. Instead said bueno. Well, in Spanish. To his day my dad says they're not really married. In November they'll be married for 41 years. Dated for 12. What an awful time to find out she has bad stage fright. LMAO, super happy it worked out for y'all though. She had cancer. I said we should get married because I had full medical coverage from my work. She said no, and over time we grew apart. Haven't talked to her in 15 years. Don't know if she died. I know a couple who did just that. He proposed in order to give her citizenship and health insurance so she could remain here and get cancer treatment she desperately needed. They stayed married for about 15 years and he even adopted her son. But they never lived together or were romantically involved. Years later, they divorced when he met the woman of his dreams and wanted to get married. They are all very close friends, with no drama. She lived and is a university professor now. He is in another state with the woman of his dreams. That's actually beautiful. In a dystopian capitalist nightmare kind of way. We received a letter from the immigration office saying that she was lacking some documents. At the moment we were stressed, both of us, with work and study, and none of us were sufficiently fluent in German to decipher this kind of language. We went to the university office for foreign students. The lady in charge translated to us the letter badly, telling us that even presenting the documents they would proceed with the deportation process. We panicked. Looking for some more help, we ended in the city hall. With the adrenaline rush, I proposed to her in quite a loud voice. If we get married, could we stop the deportation? I asked to the poor guy in the information office. I can't remember if he gave us an answer. I want to marry her. Will you marry me? She started laughing. I started laughing. The guy in the office gave us the telephone to the pertinent department and asked us to call. We went out of the city hall and we couldn't stop laughing. She said to me, "Well, thank you, but let's wait a bit." It was intense and, in retrospective, really funny. Addendum. We are not married, and never planned, but we live together. She got a job that provides her with a visa. Soon she will present herself to citizenship exam. So, did you marry her? We need answers. Yes, he didn't. So this actor, Patrick Moot, proposes to his girlfriend at a basketball game and gets turned down while on the giant jumbotron. Clip goes on YouTube, etc, etc. She tells him later that she turned him down because she thinks his D is too small. So he travels around the world, documenting what other cultures think about N size and N enlargement, and made a movie about it called Unhung Hero. I've never watched it, but the title alone makes me laugh. I've seen that movie and it really was fascinating. He has a booming TikTok account these days. God, I thought that would be a joke. Well, did you? Edit. Nothing like some suspense to get my most upvotes ever, aha. Thank you. Dated a woman for over 2 years and popped the question. First time she said I don't know. A couple months later I asked her again. She said maybe. I was pretty bent out of shape. But then I found out she was sleeping with several of my friends, so I dodged a bullet there. Really? Sounds like you dodged a gang shootout, mate. Those weren't your friends, colon. Sounds like she didn't dodge a gang shootout though. Edit. Hey, my first Reddit award. Cool, man. Sorry to OP though, lol. I'm glad you said that. My friend made me feel guilty for not wanting to be friends anymore after he was messing around with my ex. He still tries to reach out years later, but I say fuck that guy, then second guess myself for 2 weeks. I wish he would just go away so I wouldn't have to feel anything about it anymore. My mom told my dad no when he proposed to her, even though they were already living together. She thought he was impotent, and it wasn't until she got pregnant that she said yes. In retrospect, I wish my parents had decided early in their relationship that they can barely stand each other. I think you meant infertile. Impotence is an inability to preform sexual, normally referring to not being able to maintain an erection. A buddy of mine told me once he will never have kids because he is going to get a hysterectomy. That was 20 years ago and still just as funny now. This is the story of my parents. My dad asked my mom to marry him several times. She said no. Several times. One day my dad asked my mom to marry him. Yet again. She said yes. He freaked out and left her apartment and dumped her. 3 weeks later he hated his life without her and begged her to take him back and marry him. They were married 9 months later for 16 years until my mom passed from cancer. They loved each other so much and had such a deep appreciation for each other. That was 25 years ago. My dad has not remarried. No one will ever come close to my mama. Dad, marry me? Mom, okay. Dad, what? 8 I am out. Wild ride, but I'm glad it worked out for them. Red heart. I'd never join a club that would be willing to have someone like me as a member. Dad, marry me. Mom, no. Dad, marry me. Mom, no. Dad, marry me. Mom, yes. Dad, well now I am not doing it. My mother turned my father down, but didn't outright break up with him. She just wasn't sure about the marriage idea. She valued her independence and was nervous about commitment. No hard feelings, though. He called up the next day when she'd had more time to think about it, and she said yes after all. They celebrated 32 years of marriage last month. Just the fact that they could say those things to each other and still be respectful and friendly, loving, that's the key there. My parents are almost sickeningly respectful and loving. When she gave birth, one of the nurses remarked she'd never seen a laboring mother ask her husband how he was feeling until then. You're the first patient I've had who didn't cuss him out. Your mother. Hey, how are you feeling? Do you need some ice chips or something? I totally understand if you're feeling stressed out. I mean, this is some crazy stuff. Just let me know. Your father. There is a human head shoving itself out of your body right now. But yet, I'm fine. Should we get pizza after this? In 2017, Google came up with this idea to allow you to make photo books out of your Google Photos account. My girlfriend and I had been dating for almost 2 years and I knew she was the one I wanted to marry. So I created this wonderful photo book of all of our selfies together and ended it with a page made out of a photo I generated that said, "Will you marry me?" I then proceeded to put all these things into an album and build the photo book. What didn't occur to me at the time was that the album I put these in was a shared album and the other person gets a notification when you add new photos to it. And the other person that the album was shared with? My girlfriend. That evening, we had dinner and it all came out. She saw the photo. She wasn't ready. There were a few reasons why, but they were good reasons and smart reasons, mostly to do with timing, family, and finances. We weren't breaking up. We just weren't getting engaged at that time. A year later, we have fully discussed the concept of getting married. We went ring shopping. She picked her own ring. And by the time I actually did propose, we both knew what her answer would be. We celebrated our first wedding anniversary in April. It seems to have worked out so far, and the photo book is on a shelf to my left as we speak. I'm a firm believer that the only surprise in a proposal should be how you are proposing. Not that you are, she, or he, should know that it is going to happen at some point but not know how. Marriage is a big deal and should be discussed extensively beforehand as it is a huge legal agreement. I'm glad it ended up working out for you. The photo book idea is really sweet. I prefer to propose on the first date. Really helps break the ice. Ted Mosby, is that you? A little tip, BTW, is do not ever propose in public. For one, it sends the message of this isn't important enough, unless a crowd is watching, and two, you are pressuring them into saying yes. In private they can make their own decision, and if they say no there are less people to hear it. In public, the proposee will almost always be shamed, because people don't think about the situation. Or, the proposee may say yes just to avoid public humiliation, only to tell you no in private or worse divorce you soon after. So, just don't propose in public, unless you have confirmation that they are all for public proposals and want to marry you.